agenda. Is there any public comment today? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial. Items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed for later discussion. 3A, approval of the board meeting minutes of January 27th. 3B, approved request for water leak adjustment. Account number 002301.
Move to approve item 3.
I have a motion.
I'd like to pull 3B. I'll make
Okay.
a motion to approve 3A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Y'all, please call the roll.
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes. Cindy, 3B.
Yeah, so I'm not disputing the credit, but I'm just wondering, the letter was written November of 2020. Looks like she signed the acceptance form February 12th, not too long ago, but it looks like it was all approved. So why do we need to approve it today, I guess? It looks like it was approved by Michael, and I know it's supposed to be over 1,000, but are we just doing a formality, or do we need to adjust the amount that somebody could give credit to without coming to us beforehand?
Why don't we let Michael answer?
No, I think it has to be approved by the board because it's over $1,000. So the approval, I don't think the approval will be final until the board approves it.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no, but okay. I mean, I know it's all everything's good, but she's like, you approved it back in November and this is February. So I was just wondering if maybe we needed to change the policy, because it looks like you already approved it, which I'm not complaining about. I was just wondering if we might need a policy change, because
I haven't approved it. I wouldn't approve it without board authorization.
But Michael, on the letter dated November 13th to the customer, it says your request for a leak adjustment has been approved. Does it say pending the board? I don't think so, but I'm just wondering if perhaps this process, and again, I'm not disputing what you've done. I'm just wondering if we need to adjust a policy to make it, a little higher or something, and then we get it prior to coming to the board. But
I think it's a good question. I don't think it's the policy that needs to change, but maybe the language of the letter that went out should be revised to make it clear that we don't have, staff doesn't have the authority to approve anything above $1,000.
okay, I'll let you guys figure that out. I just kind of wanted to point it out in case there
Yeah,
was
no, I appreciate that. That's a good question.
Do I have
Okay.
a motion? Is there any other questions on 3B? Can I get a motion for acceptance?
Yes, I have a motion to approve 3B.
Approved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? Please call the roll.
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yeah. Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to 4A, discussion regarding disinfection byproducts, maximum contaminant level exceedance for disinfection byproducts in the Ebbets Pass distribution system. Jessica. Do we have Jessica with us?
Sorry, I was on mute. So I know Michael brought this up at the last board meeting, but during quarterly testing in 2020, the last quarter of 2020, a sample site tested high for DBPs, specifically haloacetic acids. It was only one testing site in the Ebbets Pass service area. The maximum containment level is 0 to 60 parts per billion. And this one site tested at 61 parts per billion. So it was only one ppb above that maximum containment level. But because we exceeded that level, we had to notify the state. And then from there, we had to notify all 6,000, approximately 6,000 customers within the Ebbets Pass service area. Per California guidelines, we were supposed to notify all customers by February 26th. And we made sure to send those mailers out. We mailed them out on February 10th. We also were required to do a secondary method of notification. So we posted a public notice on our website, which is still there. And last night we held a town hall meeting for any customers to attend. And we had two attendees. And it looks like most of the customers received their mailers late last week. We have just received a small handful of emails and phone calls. Mainly Damon has been fielding those phone calls and emails. He's been doing an incredible job. And he's definitely been able to calm down any worries that they may have. So the next steps is, it looks like will be April 30th of this year. We will have to submit a corrective action plan to the state to identify improvements to the water system. And then from there, we will have about 2 years to comply to that corrective action plan.
Okay, is there any action that we need to take or?
No, it's just an update.
No action. We just wanted to put this on an open session agenda in case any customers wanted to get additional information about it and make sure the board was up to speed. And I just want to acknowledge really incredible work that Jessica and Damon have done on this as far as developing the materials, the public outreach materials, and responding, and the customer service staff too, responding to the questions and the feedback that we've gotten from the public. I think the response has been pretty minimal because of how good the outreach materials were. But for those folks that did contact us, and as Jessica said, Damon spent a lot of time directly interacting with folks, answering questions in a lot of detail. And that has, I think, gone a long ways towards really addressing any concerns that people might have. So I just really want to acknowledge Jessica and Damon and the customer service staff for a really great job on handling this.
Okay, great. Is there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I got a couple comments. I heard about this and saw the letter that went out to all of our customers on social media. I hadn't heard, and this is great to know that, and congratulations, I mean, Jessica and Damon, and it sounds like it's handled very well, but why is it coming to the board today? And why didn't it come to the board in at least an email just to, hey, this is going on, something happened, we got a high test, and it seems to be, a 3-year deal to deal with it. And I read the letter, and it sounds like we had all the information. But so again, Michael, why is it coming to the board today and in this format? I think it kind of explains, so kind of make it public. But did I miss an email? This is, hey, we got this going on. I wish big deals, or as deals at least this big, would come to us at least as an information as this group of customers are getting emails from us. It'd be nice to know, be in the loop at least.
That's a great point. That should have been an email directly to the board, and that's 100% my fault. Not. I don't want to take away from the really great work that Jessica and Damon and the customer service staff have done on this. So I'll make sure that the board gets a notification of that as the public is being notified. I will. I had several conversations directly with Director Underhill about this because this is her service area. So we made sure that she was fully briefed on this. But I think it's a great point, Director Ratterman, that we should make sure the whole board is in the loop as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'd like to know how many calls were made to customer service or specifically to Damon about this breach.
Hi, Bertha. Can everybody hear me?
Is Damon
Yes.
available?
Yeah, so I've received 4 phone calls over the past couple days, and I've responded to probably between 5 and 10 email. And most of the folks really just kind of want some clarification as to what is really going on and want some confirmation that it's not an immediate health risk. And so a lot of the conversation is working to describe the concern behind haloacetic acids, how they're formed, and how they affect people. And really the message is it's a long-term exposure with large volumes of water, because to remind everybody, we're talking about parts per billion. And so we're talking about very small amounts of haloacetic acids in the water supply. And we're also talking about 1 part per billion above the maximum contaminant level. And then also working to describe that maximum contaminant level is a running annual average of samples taken quarterly at each of these sample sites. And then what we kind of further expand upon is the fact that these 4 sample sites are representative of the water of the oldest water in the distribution system. So the oldest water in the system, based on the way these disinfection byproducts form, generally provides the highest level of disinfection byproducts. So we're really looking at the worst case scenario for the entire system. So that's been a lot of what we've discussed in email and on phone call with folks.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the reason I'm asking that is because it seems like when we do a town hall or we call a meeting, we just get very little representation, or very few of our customers are involved. And so I'm looking at the way we're reaching out to them. I know that we've had a direct mail to everybody in Ebbets Pass, but 15 customers or 20 customers maybe out of what do we have up here, 5,100?
Right, yeah, something close to that.
I think it's over 6,000 up there.
Do they not care?
Well, I think
Okay,
part of it. I think part of it
So,
gets to
my question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, was Damon going to answer, or?
Well, I'm happy to answer. I think what Michael was going to say.
No, I'm
and
just
what
asking.
Yeah. So really, I think that's a testament to the informational that Jessica put out. There was a lot of the the nuance was described graphically in that informational, and I think that provided a lot of peace of mind to most of the folks up on the pass. And a lot of the folks I talked to, the majority of them had ongoing health issues that they were concerned about, that they wanted to discuss with me. And so I think that added to their request to have a more detailed conversation about the issue.
Yeah, and I
No, I agree that
Nope, go ahead, sorry.
Go
No,
ahead and
I
finish,
would
Bertha, please.
agree that yeah, that, I'm trying to finish. I'm agree that the mailer or the sheet was just excellent. It really described everything. And I just, as long as you're happy with the reasoning that after they read that, they didn't feel they had to call in, that's fine with me. I just want to make sure that, we got the bases covered, that everyone was notified, and it's not a real problem. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I think part of what happens too, in addition to the really great outreach materials, is the folks that do call tend to be people that they're concerned, and I think it's really a credit to Damon, who's extremely busy running operations and engineering departments, and really takes time to interact with these folks in great detail and answer all their questions and explain everything. And then those folks in turn, having their concerns addressed and their questions answered, they tend to spread the word, I think, throughout the community as well. And we saw that very clear example of that yesterday. After getting off the phone with Damon, somebody posted on one of the community groups in Facebook, kind of echoing some of what Damon had told her, and coming out in support of the CCWD's efforts. And so I think it really just has kind of helped ease any concerns that folks might have had by word of mouth, because of the responsiveness from customer service and from Damon.
Mhm. No, I watched Damon answer question on the town hall call-in, and put everyone at ease. So the number of people calling is, says something about the explanation that we're making, literature that went out, and the calls that were made. So I'm very pleased with what happened and how we handled that problem.
Great. And if you do
Again,
hear from constituents,
Jessica and Damon, and customers.
And if you do hear from folks that have more questions or would have participated in the meeting but weren't able to, we're still available to answer those questions, and we could set up another meeting if there's enough of that out there.
Okay. One comment that I did hear was a lot of people use the Brita. You're familiar with that? And they wanted to know how that entered into it. The Brita filter.
Right. Yeah. And so, Brita, granular activated carbon filters that are used for in the house, like a Brita filter on a water tank, or what's the pitcher, or on a faucet, do a great job of removing chlorine, but they don't do so good of a job removing haloacetic acids. So we're talking about the molecular level in the water supply. So, but they do remove chlorine. And a lot of what we had heard in the conversation last night also was the fact that people often smell and taste chlorine in the supply, and that tends to erode their confidence in the water supply. And what we work to describe is that's actually often related to water age, and smelling and tasting chlorine in the water is indicative of older water. And so I just reminded folks that they can always call us, and we can work, send staff out. We can do taste and odor checks. We can flush. Especially in Big Trees Village, there's an increase in water age. Not everybody is using a ton of water, and we have water staged for fire protection, and so there's a large supply, and it's the furthest point in the system, and sometimes we need to freshen that supply up.
Well, that's fine as you're ready to move on. Any problem? Thank you again, and I'm very appreciative of what you're doing for District 3.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
it looks like Director Cicada has her hand up. Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I was just checking to see if raising the hand might work. If we could all maybe try and use that, because there was so much back and forth over each other. Just a thought. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other comment from the board? Any other comments from the public? Any public comment? Okay, does that conclude this item, staff?
Yes, it
That
does.
is a yes. Okay, we'll move on to old business. 5A, update on the Mueller automatic meter reading project and the Tyler software upgrade. Damon?
Hello. So where we're at with the Mueller project is we installed 12 meters in the Wallace service area, and we installed a radio transmitter on the tower tank. We are waiting for a signal extender, and then we should be able to read those meters online and access their data remotely. So the next step is we're working to install all of the collectors and antennas that will be pushed out through the lower end. So this is copper in the Rancho area. And then the project is on task to have meters beginning to be installed at the end of April. So everything's moving forward and on task and on time at this point in time.
Yeah, and just to step back a minute, we wanted to give the board an update on this item. Obviously, this is a huge project. It's going to affect every water customer in the district, replacing over 13,000 water meters with these remote read meters. And we're working very closely with the Mueller team. And it goes across all departments at CCWD, because it also has to integrate with our finance software. And Rebecca and her team are working hard on transitioning to a new finance software. So making sure those projects are sequenced properly and that we're able to integrate the new meter technology into the existing system and then transition to the new system once that happens. It takes a lot of work and a lot of coordination. But I think the big thing is, as Damon mentioned, with the meter replacements, the AMI infrastructure is the work that's being done right now for the most part, with the exception of the pass, where there's, snow is going to prohibit that work from starting for a while. But the meter swap out will start in earnest, hopefully, as long as everything's going well, late April. And the contractor wants to do these replacements at a pretty swift clip. So we could be seeing them work through the district a lot faster than we had initially anticipated. So there's going to be a lot of activity once we move into that phase of the project. And so we want to make sure we're keeping the board informed, and we'll be doing some public outreach as well to make sure the communities are informed about the work that's going on and the benefits of the project to those communities. So happy to answer questions.
My hand is raised.
Go ahead, Bertha.
I would just like any kind of a frame for the pass. I know we still 3 or 4 feet of snow up here, so that it's going to be a while. Anything this year?
I definitely think so. So what has happened thus far is Mueller and CCWD staff went up to the pass last week, actually, and looked at sites for data collectors and antennas and towers, and started to develop basically a map of where they would like to see these data collectors located. And then the next step is to bring the county into the loop and work to coordinate and make sure that those sites are going to be accessible and they're within the public right of way. And then once that information is collected and the plan for install is complete, Mueller will then come back to Kevin, our project manager here at CCWD, and we'll work on a timeline for install for that infrastructure and then the meters. So I definitely think so. By the end of this construction project, we will be making progress towards getting AMI up on the pass as well.
But you didn't say that we'd have it this year.
Well, I think that's the objective for sure.
Okay.
That's the
All right.
objective. Yes.
Yeah, and that's I think it's also important to point out, you know, that we're definitely going to be one of the few Mountain County agencies, at least, that are able to do this district wide. And so we're I think bringing a really significant benefit to all the customers, and the fact that we can it looks like we're going to be able to do that on the pass as well is you know, puts us in we're definitely on the leading edge of this type of project.
Well, I think that's wonderful. Thank you.
It looks like Rebecca Callan has her hand up.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
so
Rebecca.
Hi. So I just wanted to give an update on the Tyler implementation. So the good news is Tyler has been able to adjust a lot of the resources. So we might actually be on track to get this done faster than what we had intended. We did our first data conversion test on Monday and Tuesday of this week. And given some staffing shortages that we've had over the last few weeks, I actually had the opportunity to run through the entire reminder past due and billing process. The benefit of doing that is I can actually see what is going to change when we switch over to AMI. And what I can see is it's going to drastically change how we are doing our billing process, and it's going to be to the benefit of the district and the benefit to the customers. I think we're going to have much better information, much more timely information. So I'm very excited about that. So we are going to start meeting with Tyler project management the end of next week. I will be working with them probably for 2 whole days, going through our existing processes to identify any concerns that they might have, as well as any issues that they saw through our initial data conversion testing, so we can start working through some of that information. We've also kept track of concerns that we have on our end with regards to our existing processes, things that our customers find that they want to keep intact. So just making sure that we're not losing sight of certain processes or procedures that we handle on this end that maybe other agencies don't, but we want to make sure we're taking all of those into consideration. So very excited. A lot of this is moving pretty fast, but I think at the end, it's all going to be really great for the district overall.
Rebecca, do we have anyone from Tyler on-prem with us?
Not right now, no. And unfortunately, due to COVID, probably a lot of what we will be doing will be remote, which is what we've been doing over the last year. We just did our entire audit remotely. We never had an auditor step on site. So this seems to some degree kind of be the new normal until we get through COVID-19. But we are in a much better place today than we were a year ago with regards to having the technology in place to be able to facilitate those types of meetings. So whether they, can be here in person or not, we have everything we need in place for us to have good, productive meetings with them.
Okay, thank you.
And that's another project that is touches every customer in the district and is a really important part of our infrastructure, even if it's not physical infrastructure in the context that we normally think of it. So we want to continue, though, we'll provide regular updates to the board, and we'll be doing customer outreach at the appropriate time on that project as well.
Yes, that's a really good point. So Jessica and I were talking about the fact that we want to make sure that we're pushing the outreach in a way that isn't creating too much noise for customers. So we're going to try to make sure that we're really strategic in that outreach to make sure that we're getting to everybody in an effective way. So to make sure that they're actually watching what's happening and listening, and that they're prepared for the changes that are going to be happening in the near future.
Okay, is there anything else on that subject? Any other questions from the
Yeah, Jeff,
board?
this is Russ. I'd like to ask Damon and Michael a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, Damon, you talked a few moments ago about how you were interacting with the county about right-of-way issues and stuff. But I'm wondering, I've been aware for a long time that there are blind spots or dead areas in the county's communication capability. Have you taken a deeper dive into this? If we're going to be creating any additional line of sight poles and stuff like that, is the county interested in co-locating on those structures?
That's a great question. I don't believe it has come up in any conversations, but these conversations are still going on, so I can definitely add that to the mix.
Yeah, I think that talking to Public Works, the Sheriff's Department would be really an appropriate thing to do. So thanks.
Got it. I'm making notes, and I'll talk to Kevin Williams, our project manager, about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else regarding 5A? Okay, we'll move on to reports. General manager report.
All right. This might be our fastest open session ever. I just want to give a few updates. Obviously, the board members, or most of the board members, were at the strategic planning workshop on Friday. I thought it was another really good session. I really appreciate everybody's really thoughtful engagement in the process. I think every member of the management team and every board member has had a lot of input and positive contributions to the process so far, and a lot of the staff generally through the surveys that we did. A lot of that information has made it into the strategic plan work that's been done so far. The next session, the next public session for the board will be next month. We're tentatively scheduling March 19th, but this is the third and final board workshop on the strategic plan, and we think it's really important that all 5 board members are present for that workshop. So we're gonna be in touch with each of the board members as that gets a little bit closer, and if we need to reschedule to accommodate anybody's schedule, we'll do that to make sure that we have everybody in attendance. We're also going to be doing a meeting with all staff. Now that we're past that second workshop and the mission and vision has been updated and the goals have been updated or agreed upon, and we're drilling down to the objective level within the strategic plan. We want to share all of that information, present the survey results and share all that information with all staff, and see if we can solicit some more feedback from staff members as well. So we'll be doing that before the final board workshop, so that we make sure everybody has an opportunity to provide a lot of input to the process. We also did along those lines, we did an all staff meeting, an all hands meeting last week, and thought it was very good. We tried to do it in person, but still safely, mostly outside in the parking lot here at the office. We've only been able to do that a couple of times since in the last year. It's normally something we try to do quarterly at a minimum. And it's just great to get everybody together, even if we're still kind of socially distanced or masked and taking those precautions. But I think it was a good meeting, and like I said, we'll be doing it again. Probably the next one will be a Microsoft Teams meeting when we're just presenting survey results and getting input from staff on that front. There was an energy committee meeting yesterday, an Aqua Energy Committee meeting yesterday. That was a huge part of the focus was on the clean fleet rules that are being developed, and Damon is a part of the work group on that front. So CCWD is in the loop and helping Aqua provide their response to those regulations as they're being developed, and looking for ways that we can potentially take advantage of where if there's opportunities there as well. Looking at also potential grant opportunities for energy resilience infrastructure. And there's some legislation, proposed legislation this year that might make a pretty significant amount of money available for energy resilience projects, such as standby generators or microgrid technology. There's still some areas in the district where we have gaps on that front. And the current proposed legislation would be up to $100 million through Cal OES for grant funding for those types of projects. And it would be 30 million of that would be designated for special districts. So we'll keep a close eye on that as it moves through. It may get trimmed, but as long as there's still a pot available for special districts, we'll make sure we're in the queue and taking advantage of those opportunities. Had a really good meeting with the Forest Service yesterday, with Jessica and Brad and myself. Met with Ray Kablayan, the district ranger for the Stanislaus, and several members of his senior staff to talk about some upcoming work that we have, our increased involvement in watershed health and forest management activities, a potential grant opportunity that might come available to do a feasibility study for biomass power on the Highway 4 corridor, expansion of water infrastructure for firefighting in the wilderness urban interface. We covered a lot of different topics with them and got some updates from them on the work that they're doing. So we want to try to make that a regular meeting. I thought it was really productive, and want to make sure we have a close relationship with them as we're increasing our work in the forest management space. Obviously they're a key partner. We had a camera meeting last week. And I'm sure Director Rademan will want to touch on that, but I thought it was a really great meeting on two fronts. One was a presentation from PG&E that gave us a lot of detail on their Moke River operations and the operations of Project 137, which was really interesting discussion. Thank you to Damon for helping to set that up, line up the speaker on that one, and Kate. That was an excellent presentation. And it also looks like camera is going to become kind of going to become a forum for talking about groundwater sustainability issues as the Consumnes Basin that Amador County is in moves into the development of their groundwater sustainability plan. They're basically 2 years behind us because we're in a critically overdrafted basin and they're just in an overdrafted basin. So they're the next tranche of groundwater sustainability plans that have to be submitted to DWR. And so they're looking to hear from us and learn from our experiences on that front. And so I think providing each other with updates on how we're moving through those processes is going to be a useful, I think camera is going to be a useful venue for that. The legislative session obviously is heating up. I mentioned the grant opportunity. There's a pretty significant climate resilience bond that's being proposed already. The big issue, both at the state and federal levels, as far as water agencies go right now, is low-income ratepayer assistance. Something that there's I would say, a lot of agreement on the need to do something to help people with significant delinquencies over the past year, but not a lot of agreement on how to do it. And there's still a lot of debate on how to best do that. And so we're participating in the Aqua work group on that, both at the state and federal levels, and we'll keep the board posted on that front. And I think that's all I have for now. Any questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
I have a question, Mike.
Go ahead, Bertha.
If you have a meeting with the staff again or the employees on our vision and our goals, if they want to make a change or if they come up with a significant suggestion, will you be going back to Ellen Cross and trying to work that in?
Absolutely. That's why we want to do it now. The timing of that we feel like is appropriate because we still have plenty of time to bring those suggestions and that feedback back to the consultant team and make sure that input gets included in the work that they're doing and what gets presented to the board at the next workshop. So we wanted to make a point to have that meeting well in advance of the final board workshop. So that it's not something we're presenting to them after the fact. We're presenting it to them at a point in time when they still have an opportunity to influence the process. I think hopefully what comes out of it is they'll see that the survey results, a lot of that information has already found its way into the work that's been done so far. But they'll absolutely have an opportunity to review that information and provide more feedback and more input to us. So yes, is the short answer.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that they have a buy-in also, that they feel the buy-in on the part of the employees. And so that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from the board for the general manager?
Jeff, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Michael, in the Aqua news letter or their monthly publication, I ran across a number of $600 million statewide is the shortfall on the bills that are unpaid by customers. When you talked about one of the focuses of legislation will be to help people pay their bills. I'm just wondering if they're proposing to have joint checks made out. What would happen if people got money and didn't pay $600 million worth of overdue bills? That's a frightening prospect.
If I had the answer to that question, I'd probably be sitting in the governor's office right now because that's the one that nobody can figure out. There is no mechanism in place right now to provide water agencies with direct payments for ratepayer assistance. That's not something that has been done in the past. And so there's no bureaucratic mechanism that exists to do that. So both the federal and the state agencies are struggling to figure out what the best way to do it is. One of the things they're looking at the state level is CalFresh and actually distributing payment or distributing money through that program directly to residents, but that doesn't mean the money ends up paying the water bill. So which is the issue that you raised. There is a federal program called LIHEAP. I don't recall exactly what the acronym stands for. Much more widely used on the East Coast. It's a low-income ratepayer assistance program for heating, like heating oil. And so the federal agencies are looking at potentially expanding that does provide payments directly to the entities. But how to ensure that the money ends up where they want it to end up is one of the biggest problems right now. The $600 million figure, I'd have to go back and look and see if that's the delinquencies. the total of the delinquencies in California right now. I do know there was 600, and I think it was 638 million that Congress approved in December for low-income ratepayer assistance for water bills. And I think around 10% of that is going to end up in California, but still we have the unresolved question of how are those payments going to make it to water agencies. So it's a tricky, it's kind of a red tape mess, to put a cynical spin on it. But it's just it's not as easy as you would think to figure out how to just write checks to water agencies.
Okay, well, I'm thinking that it might be worthwhile for finance department to give us a report soon on what our delinquency number is. So if that's
yeah, that's something I know Rebecca had provided an update to the finance committee not long ago on that front. But yeah, that's something we could bring forward to the full board. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything else for the general manager? Okay, we'll go into board reports, information, future agenda items. Director Underhill. Director Underhill, are you muted? Okay, we'll move on to Director Radaman.
Well, I was going to report on camera, but Michael stole all my thunder. It's PG&E and the groundwater basin are the two main subjects that we talked about, and we are going to continue talking about groundwater going forward. And yeah, thanks, Michael, for reminding me about that. Also, I do want to compliment you on a great presentation on. I think you had a captive audience there talking about all the legislation that's going on. And like to see that continue in the future at those meetings. And as far as camera goes, our next meeting, 3 months from last week, we'll be focusing on groundwater. And Walt from Stanislaus County, what's his last name?
Yeah, we're going to reach out to Walt Ward and see if if he's available to make a presentation to that group.
Thank you. And the other thing I got is we got a Mountain Counties meeting this coming Friday. We're continuing to work on our looking for a new general manager and kind of welcoming our new interim general manager and going through a kind of an interim process for that group right now. We're going to come out on our feet though. That's all I got. Thank you.
Who is the interim general manager?
He's from the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and his name is slipping my mind. Let me.
I'm blanking on his name too, but I know who he is.
I should know.
Slipping my mind. Yeah,
I'll answer.
Okay, Director Thomas.
I have nothing to report, but I think that I remember the guy that is the general manager of Mountain County. Didn't he used to be the California Conservancy or something like that? He was a manager of that for years.
Yeah, that's what Jim Branham is our interim executive director. Yes, and he was with the Sierra Nevada Conservancy for years, and now he's also a consultant right now with Yuba County Water Agency, working part-time there and part-time for Mountain Counties as our executive director. But we do have a couple, just to continue that, we do have a couple applications, resumes for people who are interested in John Kingsbury's permanent job. So this meeting is kind of the transition between Jim Branham and John Kingsbury. That's all I got.
Does that continue? Does that complete your second report, Scott?
Yes, yeah. And if I have a third one, I'll jump in and
We haven't
raise
even
my.
let Bertha go. Yeah. Director Cicada,
I don't have anything, thank you.
Director Underhill, did you have a report? We thought you might have been muted.
Looks like
I
she's
think
frozen.
Might be frozen. Okay, well, I have nothing to report. So we will, our next board meeting will be March 10th at 1 p.m. And then we have another special board meeting Friday, March 19th at 8:30 a.m. for a special board workshop, strategic planning. So we'll move on to closed session. We will adjourn in a second here. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, government 9B, government code 54957, agency negotiated general manager, HR Stacy Lawler. 9C, conference with real property negotiators, government code 54956. Is there any public comment on closed session? Okay, what are our plans for closed session? So, okay, everybody stay where you're at, and we will adjourn to closed session in a second or two. Thank you.